If you've seen The Chosen, then you saw how they made Jesus and his disciples really Jewish. I mean, not that they made them Jewish, that's probably close to how they actually were, but they really showed how Jewish they were. And they even showed Yeshua and his disciples praying some of the traditional Jewish prayers. I think that raised questions for a lot of people, like, how did Jesus pray? We know that he conversed with his Father spontaneously from his heart. But what about when he, let's say, the blessing that he said before breaking bread, like we see in this picture, or when he attended synagogue services, or when he did that Passover Seder with the cups? Were there traditional prayers that were said? What were those prayers? Basically, a lot of people have gotten interested in Jewish prayer because of The Chosen, and also just because maybe they know that Jesus was Jewish and they want to understand him better, like in his original context, if I could put it that way. So I brought something for show and tell here, and it's kind of big and heavy, so just bear with me for a second. I'm gonna show you some Jewish prayer books. All right, here are some of them right here, as you can see. And so you might be interested in Jewish prayer and understanding Yeshua, Jesus, better. And so maybe you got a prayer book, and you can see, if you're familiar with Jewish prayer, then you're familiar with some of these. There's Koran, Art Scroll. Hirsch isn't as popular, but it has great commentary. The Tilat Hashem towards the bottom, that's popular in Chabad synagogues, and then the Siddur Lev Shalem at the bottom is more popular in conservative synagogues. But there are lots of prayer books. That's just some of them. And they're big, and they're long, and they're kind of complicated, and they have a lot of prayers in them. And so you have people who want to know Yeshua more closely and follow him, maybe even follow him in the Jewish tradition of prayer. So they get a prayer book, and they're like, there are a lot of prayers in here. Like, how old are these prayers? Where did these come from? Which are the ones that Jesus and his disciples would have said 2,000 years ago? Questions like that. Maybe you've even had questions like that. Maybe you got a Siddur, a prayer book, and you were looking through it, and you're like, there's a lot here. And you're right, there is a lot there. And so basically, that's where this comes in. This is the 1st century Siddur, Volume 1, with the weekday prayers as they would have been prayed in the time of Yeshua. And I don't even want to say as they would have been, because as close as historically possible from the information that we have, this is how the prayers were prayed in the time of Yeshua. And I'll show you a couple sample pages here, see if it's something that you might be interested in. So here's a sample page. As you can see, there is the original Hebrew. And then there's also the Hebrew written in English letters. That's called a transliteration. And it's as simple and readable as possible. And then also there's an English translation. And the translation attempts to be fairly accurate, but at the same time really vibrant and warm and personal, the way that you would pray. And it really tries to give you the way those prayers felt. As the way they would have felt for Yeshua and his disciples to pray. Now, some of these prayers you're going to find, in fact, most of these prayers you'll find in Siddurs, in Jewish prayer books today, but some of them you actually won't. Some of these have fallen into disuse to the point where Jewish people wouldn't even recognize them. They are there in our ancient writings, and some of them have also been unearthed. For instance, if you're familiar with the Cairo Geniza, there was a synagogue in Egypt, and instead of throwing away old manuscripts, they just put them in a room called a Geniza. And so they discovered that, and there are just tons of old ancient documents. And so some of them were prayers that came from ancient Israel. So some of those are included in here also. Like for instance, this first line here, that's one that most Jewish people today are not going to be as familiar with as the rest of this prayer. And so there's that, and as you can see, it's all laid out in a poetic and beautiful format. So, if you're wondering also about the historical backdrop to the prayers, how do we know where they came from, how old they are, etc. We also have detailed notes. So, for instance, here are some notes about the first section in the Siddur prayer book. And then we have 3 sections for each prayer. The first one is general historical information, sources, etc. The second section is linguistic insights, specific words. As you know, you can never fully translate a word from one language to another. So this section gives you a better sense of what the original words were and what they mean more fully. And then finally, also alternate versions or ancient texts that that come from a long time ago, and maybe we don't know for sure if they were prayed in the first century, but they would definitely be of interest to you also. So we have those in the notes also. And then there are also several other sections. For instance, there's the introduction with a lot of meaningful information and hopefully inspiration. There's also an instructions section, just explaining how to use the Siddur and some practical tips. And then also we have a section with the topics. So these are big themes that don't fit into the notes on just one prayer. An example would be ancient synagogues. What were ancient synagogues? How were they laid out? What was the architecture? So we go over things like that. So hopefully you can really just step into the first century world of Yeshua and his disciples, especially how they worshipped and how they prayed. So as you can see, the first century Siddur is useful if you're looking for a Siddur to pray from, if you really want to come to know Yeshua more closely through his, if I could say it this way, his Jewish tradition of prayer, and also if you want to follow him in it. And it's also useful if you are just wanting more historical information about Jewish prayer, about ancient Jewish prayer. And also, some of this is definitely the backdrop to the New Testament. The guys who wrote the New Testament, they prayed these prayers like their whole lives. Some of these prayers every day, others every week or every month or every year, over and over again. And so you can definitely see how some of these prayers, the wording, the phraseology, the thinking behind them, they did make their way into the New Testament. So definitely, I would even say that this is part of the backdrop to the New Testament. So if any of this is interesting to you, then you'll probably be interested in the first century Siddur. Now, I will tell you this, the first century Siddur is not ready for publishing yet. This is at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. But starting in 2025, we're going to begin releasing each of these prayers, the original Hebrew, the transliteration, the translation, and the notes, each of these prayers to our online community as it comes out. And we already have about a dozen of them, and we're hoping to share about one a week. And along with that, we're also going to be releasing this video course. So basically, as we release each prayer, we're also going to do a short video guiding you through the original Hebrew and just teaching you how to pray it in Hebrew. So hopefully that will, once again, just help you to feel even closer to Yeshua and through his Jewish tradition of prayer. So this is something that I would love to have you experience with me. If you want to join me on this journey, just visit our website, firstcenturysiddur.com, and I'll put the link in the description for you. And there will be a couple of quick and easy steps that you can use to subscribe and then to join our online community. And then you can begin to get these prayers as they come out and maybe even incorporate them into your own prayer life. And also you can get the videos so that you can learn how to pray them in Hebrew and how to say all the words right, especially if Hebrew is all Greek to you. This will be really useful and helpful for you. Now, I will warn you that it may be a while before the Siddur is ready to publish. This is a project that I only work on one day a week right now. And now, having said that, I have been working on it for a couple years. I've researched literally thousands of pages from sources and ancient historical documents and literature and whatnot. And so a lot of it is in place and ready to go. Lots of notes. And so, even though it's taken this long to get to this point, it's going to start. We're going to start releasing the prayers. So what I would say is, don't wait for the Siddur to be published. I would say join now so that you can get each of these prayers as they come out, along with the videos, and then you won't be left waiting. And then you can, really experience these as we go, and really just enjoy this journey together with me and our online community. I would also say, so when you visit the website here, it'll give you a link to sign up for updates by email or text. Definitely do that also, because this is volume 1, but we're planning to release several volumes after that. So we have volume 2 for Shabbat, the Sabbath, and also life events. For instance, what were the prayers that were said when a baby was born in ancient Israel on the 8th day when the baby boy was circumcised for his bris, his brit milah? Or, were there prayers said for bar mitzvah? What did an ancient Hebrew funeral look like? Marriages, these things. We're going to be including those in Volume 2. Volume 3 is the festivals, so that's the Jewish holidays. Volume 4 is a machzor, which is our word for, it's a special prayer book for the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So that's the Jewish New Year, the Day of Trumpets, and then the Day of Atonement. And so we'll have a God willing, we'll have a Siddur just with all the prayers that were prayed in ancient Israel on these momentous days. And then finally, we're planning to release all of these in a complete Siddur and also in an all Hebrew version. So once again, just make sure that when you visit firstcenturysiddur.com, you sign up for text or emails so I can let you know as these volumes are released, and so you don't miss out on any of them. And so, like I said, I'll put the link in the description for you. So we're publishing this Siddur through Holy Language Institute. That's our online Bible school. We have an emphasis on basically this right here, what you can see. Our motto is following Yeshua in a Hebrew way together. And following Yeshua is all about discipleship, coming to know him more closely, and then becoming like the Messiah through that, as we're all called to do. In a Hebrew way, that's Bible. The Hebrew Bible is the foundational original text of Scripture. So learning Hebrew together in a Messiah-centered way. And then you can see there that we even have something about how the disciples, they didn't just read the Hebrew Scriptures, they actually prayed the traditional Jewish prayers with Yeshua. And so really, this first century Siddur will really tie in with our overall focus as a school. And then finally, together, that's community, that's fellowship and friendship, and that's where our online community comes in. So I do hope that you'll join me at firstcenturysiddur.com. The link will be in the description. And why not share this with your family and friends also? All right. We'll see you soon, and thanks for praying about joining me for this journey.